Hi there, I'm Laura Tillinghast, and this video is going to walk you through how I like to transform boring portraits. From fixing flat lighting to replacing skies that were blown out, I'm going to show you how to take an average portrait from blah to awesome. Let's start by looking at a portrait that was taken in the middle of the day. So this was a very bright summer day, and the sun was overhead and not in a very flattering spot, so I put my couple in some shade, and that fixed the lighting on their face and made it nice and even. However, it made the sky blow out because I was shooting almost right into the sun. So we're going to put the sky back, but before we do that, let's do some general retouching on this image to make sure that everything else is great before we replace the sky. So what I'm going to do is first I go to AI Enhance, and I like to use the AI Accent slider, and I just drag it until the image starts to look more like what I have in mind. And you can see in the top right corner, if you slide this even more, the sky detail is starting to come back just a bit. We are going to replace all that, so now I'm just looking at our couple, and it looks good about halfway down. And then additionally, I'm going to go to the light section and I'm going to lower the highlights because they really are quite bright in the area where they're hitting the courtyard. And then I'm going to increase the contrast because I always want a lot of snap to a picture. So that's looking much better, but we still have no sky. So to fix that, we're going to go over to the creative section, and under AI Sky Replacement, if you choose Sky Selection, there's a whole bunch of choices here to choose from. Now this was a sunny day, so we had a blue sky, so let's just choose the first blue sky. And that looks very fake. So while that is how it looked during the day, in the middle of the day towards the sun it's much lighter. Let's choose a different one. Let's just try randomly blue sky 4. That's looking much better. Now that's more just realistic for what the shot looked like the day we were shooting, and you can choose to flip if you'd like to see if that will look more realistic. And ideally we want the light source to look like it's coming from here in the sky replacement shot because that's where our light is in our source image. This flipped over does look more realistic to me. Now it's still very bright blue, so to fix that I'm going to go down under the advanced settings and I'm going to pull the atmospheric haze slider just a little to the right till that lightens up a bit and looks more like the middle of the day. So that looks much better. Here's where we started with this image, very washed out and no sky, and here's where we ended. Much better, better skin tones in our couple, and a much more overall pleasing portrait with the sky replaced. Now let's talk about another portrait that's boring for a different reason. This shot was taken at the end of the day, and with the model in the shade, the lighting is a little bit flat. You can see a little bit of highlighting here on the shoulder and across the hip, but otherwise the lighting is pretty flat and blah. So the first thing I'm going to do to change that is I like to go to the creative section and choose Sunrays, and what we can do is create some visible light coming into the shot. So the first thing I do is place the sun center, and I want to put it where we can see that light is already coming from. We talked about how it's coming across her shoulder and hip. So and of course the sun is high in the sky, so I'm going to put it about here, all the way off the canvas, and the light will come spilling in. So I'm going to click done, and now as we increase the amount, you can see that it's coming from the right direction. So let's start with a kind of conservative amount here, just around 12 or so. And then I'm going to change the penetration and increase that so that it creates more of a big swath of light, if you will. And that's more what I have in mind for the light just kind of spilling over this wall. Now the other thing that affects quite a bit how this looks is the number of sun rays. So I'm going to bring that down because I want it to look like a wash of light and not like individual sun rays. So that looks really good. And anytime you want to check how much you've changed, just come up and toggle the effect off and on. So I like it so much more already with the light coming into the frame almost like a lens flare. So we're done with sun rays, but that's created a little bit of a washed out effect on the model's face. So I like to go to the dramatic section, and this just increases contrast and punch across the whole image. So I'm going to drag this to the right just till it looks good, and around 25, that looks good. It gives it a lot more punch. Here it was before and now. And then I also like the mystical tool, I'll show you if around 20 or so, that's increasing the tonal contrast that was already there by darkening this area down here. So before we had more of a flat look to the wall, and now it's a lot, let's do even a little bit more intense. Okay, so now I also see that I'm not crazy about this part of the shot where the light isn't really traveling, so I'm going to crop to just the most exciting part of the image, and that's the upper body. So I'm just going to drag this in, and right now I'm not constrained to a certain aspect ratio. I'm just being creative here just to get this looking how I see it in my mind. And that's looking a lot better. Now it did affect the sun center a little bit, so I'm going to just back that off a smidge to about there. And that happens sometimes when you crop. And now here is our final image. Now the shot before, it's okay, but it's a little flat, and after I find it a lot more interesting. And this is another shot too. If we go back to light, I think this one would look really good in black and white. So we're going to, last but not least, convert to black and white. And now we have a very moody portrait where the light is coming in from this corner, and then we have nice contrasting darkness down in this corner, and it travels across the model's body and leads the viewer from one diagonal to the next. Here's a final look at the before and after, so you can really get a good idea of what we changed. And I hope this video inspires you to take some of your own portraits that may be on the blah side and add a new spin to them using Luminar.